And with one final stab, the 16th Colossus reaches its end. And in that moment, Wanda's impossible mission is complete. But the story is not yet over, because in this video, this final part of Shadow of the Colossus, we find out what happens to Wanda, to Mono, to Dormin, and everyone else associated with this tale. I'll also be, towards the end of the video, I'll be going through my personal top 5 moments of the game, and I would love to hear what you thought were your personal favourite moments from your playthrough or from watching my playthrough. And there'll be many parts of this particular video where I will go silent and just let the story and the visuals speak for themselves. I'm not going to needlessly narrate things that we can see, but I will continue to try and explain and expand on the events that happen before us. And as we have seen from the previous videos and with Dormin's warnings, we are indeed not alone. A small army has been dispatched to stop us, essentially, to prevent us from doing the unthinkable of releasing Dormin from his prison, from which he was so carefully sealed. And it's interesting watching the fear in these characters' eyes as they approach down. They aren't just kind of strolling in confident of their superiority, but they are cautious and scared. And Emon's worst fears are realised. He walks into a room where nearly every statue is destroyed, and then before his very eyes, the final, the 16th, shatters. What has become of Wanda? As night turns to day, the 16th Colossus lies slumped over to one side, merely an empty shell of the creature that was there before. But Wanda is not finished either. That piece of music not particularly fitting the orchestral pieces that we've heard throughout the game, but certainly giving that kind of magical resurrection feel. First time we get to see how Wanda returns to the church, to the shrine each time. Dumped onto the floor, his sword cast from him, and the shadows climb from the land of the dead.
Irom de kekuludu. No sus if kefimo. Was I not ziku? Ik was unda. You want to lie ludo. Le kokelo in yon. Ilmazim omoro ruid. Aki. 어찌 알아 이건 거니까. 어리스 유르크드. 이위 키움코 이킹와 우리 유이. 이루웨스에르브노 가다 유도.
But the blood from Wanda is not the red of a human, but the black gas and foam of a Colossus. Because Wanda is no longer Wanda, but the carrier of Dormin. And Dormin, as we know, has control over death. See the physical changes to Wanda, the horns on his head, the greyness of the skin, the glowing eyes, but still enough in him to reach out for Mono. The shadow of Dormin now flowing over Wanda, completely encapsulating him.
이쿠카 오르다.
And for the first time, the full form of Dormin is revealed. Those 15 other shadowy figures running to join with the form, and like Dormin says, that its soul had been shattered into 16 pieces, confirming what we had been talking about before, and blaming Lord Emon for being the one who did so, again confirming that Dormin had been imprisoned by the people that once lived there. And Dormin, now fully formed, fully free, is now controllable by me. You could hear the acknowledgement there from Lord Emon towards Wanda, where he said, so it was you after all. Clearly they know each other. That kind of gives support to the theory that perhaps one worked for the other, or that they came from the same tribe or village. But there is definitely a connection between the two, and that it does explain Wanda's knowledge of the sword, of this land, of Dormin's powers. As Dormin tries desperately to thrash away at the men. But being a Colossus has its drawbacks. It's slow, it's inaccurate, but oh so powerful. horns on Dormin's head, seen on the body of the 16th Colossus, seen on the head of Wanda as he just appeared there, and of course in the game Ico as well, for those of you that have played through that. But ultimately Dormin just far too slow and lumbering to keep up with the humans as they fled. But Lord Emon has the sword being the only way to free Dormin, and perhaps that was the only key they kept to freeing Dormin. They deliberately kept a way back. Even those years ago where they locked him away, they kept a method to be able to free him in case they ever needed to. But now Lord Emon destroys that key. His only way to reseal Dormin is to remove the one item that can free him. And by destroying the sword, Dormin will be re-imprisoned. But also by destroying this sword, they destroy any method of ever freeing him ever again, or of ever accessing this land ever again, of ever being able to return to this beautiful but dangerous and forbidden land. And you can see Dormin being literally sucked off the body of Wanda and disappearing into a spiritual realm. Perhaps for the last time we get to control our hero. But as so many times in this game, it is a helpless quest. And whilst we can control over which way he goes, left or right, or how he takes down our Colossus, there will only ever be one inevitable end to this story. And that grip we have spent so long building up is put to good use just one last time. Brave, courageous, loyal, but perhaps foolish, perhaps cursed. And his destiny complete. Wanda's grip finally fails. And just like Dormin predicted all those hours ago, the cost to Wanda would be steep. Rejected by his people, murdered perhaps by his friends, losing perhaps his one true friend in Agro, and never to be reunited with Mono. And with the sword destroyed, the key to Dormin, the final connection that the shrine and the palace have with the outside world, must be removed as well as the bridge. Such an impossible bridge. It gives in to reality and gravity. But will Dormin keep his promise? wonder if she knows where she is, who she is, and how she got there. And what cost was paid to bring her back. And with the destruction of the bridge, of course, she too is trapped in this forbidden land. A land which is now empty of Colossi, empty of Dormin, perhaps even drained of its magic. But perhaps, what is more magical than a girl who came back from the dead? I'm not sure I can do that moment justice in terms of commentary, but I'll simply say that that was beautiful and emotional. Two people whose lives have been touched by wonder, reuniting and reconciling, but sadly without wonder. Lord Emon leaves for the last time. And now only remains the pieces of the story that we have told together. As Mono and Dear Agro try and carve out a life for themselves in this forbidden land. But perhaps there is one surprise left. A small horned child at the place where Wanda was lost. Is it Wanda, reincarnated? Is it the last piece of life that couldn't quite be drained away? Or is it the first child cursed with the horns of Dormin that would be seen again in Ico? For whilst Shadow of the Colossus was a sequel to Ico in terms of its order, it is a prequel in terms of its plotline. And the events here perhaps explain why every so often in Ico there is born a child with the horns of a demon. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful journey through Shadow of the Colossus. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you've watched all 16, 17, 18 episodes with me, then thank you for sharing this time with me, and if you have enjoyed it, please do like or give a comment. If you've enjoyed this series, you may enjoy my playthroughs of Journey. You may enjoy my playthrough of Bioshock, as both of them kind of have an explained type feel. And there's lots of other kind of playthroughs on the channel as well that might be more kind of comedy based, but if you like the style of this one, then I would suggest you do check out the Journey series as well. As for my personal favourite moments, as Mono finds a place for her to live out her days, the fifth Colossus, that wonderful bird soaring through the air, and there was a moment where I fell off and plummeted to the ground, was a moment I don't think I will forget easily. Being chased by Colossus number 10, that powerful snake drilling through the ground, was a truly terrifying and adrenaline pumping moment. When we faced Colossus number 14, the Bull Colossus, in that city, I had so many near misses diving out the way of that one, and one where I think I survived by what felt like centimeters. I mean, if you've seen these videos, if you haven't seen these videos, do go and check them out. There's been so many memorable battles in this game. Getting shot at by Malice, Colossus number 16, the emotion of believing that aggro had been lost, the anger of taking down this Colossus and then just getting literally kind of blown up by this huge lightning bolt, putting me back in my place, was a very memorable moment. But I think the first Colossus, the first time you lay eyes on these impossible creatures to destroy, was just fantastic, and the first time you climb up and get so high into the sky was incredibly memorable, and I think that first Colossus will probably stay with me more than any of the others. But I guess more than the Colossus, it's the Colossi, it's the plotline, it's the story, it's the somber mood, the moral ambiguity of the game that I think will stay with me most of all. And perhaps that was never seen stronger than in the death of the 13th Colossus, that peaceful kind of eel-like creature that flew in the sky that never even harmed me once, and that moment when it fell to the ground dead, and all I could say at that moment was guilt. And that idea that Shadow of the Colossus it's a story about a hero who seems to perhaps be a villain, and in the end dies for trying to save the woman he loves. I hope you've enjoyed this series. I'd love to chat with you guys in the comment section about what your favourite parts were and what you thought of the game as a whole. Do take care, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.